Should we do roll call and stuff like that?
I suppose, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
Is this you?
oh,
Is
yeah,
this?
thank you.
We are without staff.
You are the staff.
Yeah, and we're not
I
as good at
typed this up this morning. I want
Believe
to-
me, I'm a D for the Budget Advisory Commission, so
Let's see, the time is 10:07, and the Board of Ethics meeting for April 4th, 2019 is called to order. Let's see, Ted Carlson, excused, right?
Right.
Terry Kelly, present. Jack McKenna?
present.
Marsha Olson?
Present.
Present. And Dave, you're still with us.
I am
officially,
still
right?
with you,
Okay.
I'm still,
He was going to judge
I'm currently
to
here.
June
The
1st.
Honorable David Nesbitt.
So I'll be having to resign after this meeting.
Present. Okay. Also in attendance is Dee Ennis, Deputy Municipal Attorney. Okay, and we have Lance
Wilbur?
Lance Wilbur.
I'm the director of OMB, the municipality.
Okay. We have a very short agenda today. Do we have anything else that people wanted to add to the agenda? Okay. Approval of the agenda? Any objections?
No objections.
Hearing no objections, agenda is approved. Okay, so let's move right into new business then. Mr. Wilbur, thank you so much for
Yeah, no, thank
coming
you.
down. And
Appreciate
so,
it.
do you have a
Yeah, 1
backstory?
minute,
I was going to say you
yeah.
usually
1
have a
minute.
backstory, and so
1 minute backstory.
Start with D.
And of course, Lance has been here before when his wife, who is a partner in an architectural firm, some of her stuff wound its way tangentially up to Lance's office, and we had to look at what is official action. This is entirely different. His wife now has been appointed as the chairperson of the Heritage Land Bank Commission. Look at this, we have so much issues with them. This just stays up there at all times. And so Lance came to me and said, okay, Dee, I need to figure out if there's conflicts of interest. And maybe what we can do is, I did pass out this law.
Okay.
And I did not convert this to Lance yet to a request for advisory opinion, but I think that's what it should be.
Okay.
And I'll do that paperwork. And all it is I will say that same what I just said in a paragraph, maybe attached, maybe not. Yeah, so it becomes official. You, Lance, need to decide whether that's confidential or not.
Okay.
I would assume not confidential, but you want
Right.
the public to know. And so we have Lance, if he'll explain a little bit what OMB does and his role at OMB. And then this was a log that Robin Ward, remember we've had her many times here explaining things to us, said here's all the resolutions that commission has done in 2018. And we could sort of look at them to get an idea of how these intersect with Lance's job. And remember, the commission is an advisory group. But having said that, there is intersection. So maybe, Lance, would you please tell us what OMB does?
Sure.
Just to be clear, though, are you waiving confidentiality?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I just wanna make
Yes.
sure that
No,
that's
yes.
clear for
I
the
want to
record.
make sure that
All right.
everyone has, yes. So what Office of Management and Budget does is, whenever there is a municipal ordinance that comes from any department, it works its way through Office of Management and Budget, and it's primarily either where it's for a management issue or a budget issue. Any document that comes through that we're appropriating money or authorizing the ability to spend money, I have to approve it. When it comes to the Heritage Land Bank, the only thing they do as it relates to money for appropriations, if they have a sale of property and then they want to, they go through the foreclosure process and they receive those funds and they want to appropriate those funds, they're for particular properties that people foreclose on. The commission doesn't have any role in that. That's just regular citizens not paying their taxes, and that comes through. So that would come through our office. Our office also, as a matter of just the course process, even though it's not a money issue, it is a management issue. We do see their master plan. So when they look at how they want to dispose of properties all across the municipality or how they want to develop properties, it's part of a 5-year master plan. They come through our office. There's really no money involved, but it's just as a management process, we see those. We've never made any changes to the recommendations of HLB, and they go through.
Can I when you say, is that through the PACE process
Yes.
or something more?
Through the PACE process.
Okay, so we should explain PACE.
Okay.
Do you want to? You want me to?
You
Okay,
go.
PACE. PACE is the legislative process by which a department puts together something they want, an ordinance. It could be changing law, it could just be an approval to dispose of property. And so the department files something in our, it's like a computer system called PACE, and it has to go through like 5 levels of approval. So the first level, for instance, is the law department on most of them, so there's a few exceptions. And what we're really doing is every time they cite a code, we double check that's the real code. Do they have all this? Do they all have all the findings they need? Is it in English? Does it subject verb object? So we do all those things. And then it gets passed on, and I don't think you're next. CFO is next, Chief Financial Officer, and then they're looking for funds issues. Then Lance's group, OMB, gets involved. They're also looking for financial issues. We've gotten them to stop correcting English because that's why legal goes first now, because he used to reject everything for English and say, you're a numbers person, don't do that. So
Thank
we're
you.
trying to get him under control. But his
Stay
office,
in your lane.
in an official, in an
It's like that
official
Patrick Russell with
capacity,
Geico.
in an official capacity, his office is just looking at numbers, issues, how, I guess any financial matters, and that's called PACE. And so he signs off, or his office signs off, and they concur that this goes forward, and then goes municipal manager, then we submit it to the assembly. So this is, all documents go through this approval process. When the last time Lance was here, it was because it was an approval of a contract that his wife was part of the firm that was getting the contract. And so the question came, well, wait a minute, it was just a routine contract, he didn't award it, he doesn't administer it. All contracts of a certain size have to go through the approval process. And at some point it hits Lance's office. He doesn't even realize till after the fact that this is an issue, because it's just a routine contract approval, and his wife said, oh, by the way, I'll see you at the assembly. So that's how that all came about. But anyway, so we had looked at that, and we looked at official action and what sort of clerical, and so we actually put a code section in to cover that type of situation, that official action is not clerical. So this is sort of now another, it's not part of that, but when Lance says management, that's what he's talking about. It's just this concurrence process to get ordinances through to the assembly.
Yeah, when a contract comes across my desk, I'm not in a position to, whether or not it's the right vendor or it's the right price. All I'm looking for is does the department have budget to authorize the contract, do they have the ability to pay the person? How they got to that point, that's not my role. That's purchasing's and D's but in the previous case it went right by me, and I was authorizing that the department had budget, not that they had the contract. But I just wanted to make clear, because if you're not aware of that process, you go, how does that happen? In this particular case, it's even more removed. But the fact is, the departments, when they get a recommendation, as Dee mentioned here, there are some actions where we may get a packet from the Heritage Land Bank that includes a resolution from them as part of the packet. It'll have a map, it'll have we support this, we don't support this, we support it with conditions, and then it just comes through me again, and I'm looking at it not because whether or not I think we should sell the property or not, it's whether or not they have the ability or they have to appropriate to buy the property.
And again, the commission is an advisory board, but they are required to weigh in and give their recommendation, actually to the assembly. Some of them are to the mayor and the assembly, but primarily to the assembly, whether they agree with any disposal of land, for instance. So they want to, as Lance said, they want to dispose of foreclosure properties or something. They have to get they go to the commission and they get their recommendation. That recommendation is part of a package that then gets put into the PACE system, and then Lance touches it there. I asked for this because let's see what are the types of resolutions, and so to clarify a little bit more. I didn't know if you want to say anything more about it.
No, I just think that basically they're approving disposal of property for in the best interest of municipal lands. Who they dispose it to or how it's developed is not necessarily a guidance from, as I understand it, from Robin, from the commission. The other thing I asked Robin is, does the commission ever review contracts? Are they ever involved in reviewing RFPs? Are they ever involved in the process of awarding? And the answer is no to all of those. They don't do any of that. It's just on actions of disposal or what they want to manage the land. So anyway,
Okay, so Lance, with permission of the chair, if we could just go through a few of these.
Mhm.
And so, Lance, the approval of their annual work program.
That comes through my office. It's basically, because it's an ordinance, and then it comes through our plan, but it's basically a management document. It's not a money document.
So they're saying what they're going to do with various properties.
Right.
And what would you look for in this document? You get this as part of the package. What are you really reviewing?
I try not to work for English and grammar, but I can't help myself. We just
It's been more.
we make sure that if they do have any money in any resources in there, if there's assigned staff or they're going to add new staff, that they have money to do that kind of stuff. Other than that, we don't really ever have any questions with it.
So you don't have any discretion over the I would say the merits of the decision.
Nope.
You're just reviewing it for kind of compliance
Yes.
in a way?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes. Yes.
Well, and funding sources, right?
If I
If
have
the
funding.
plan says we're going to put 2 staff people, of Robin's group, Real Estate Services or Heritage Land Bank, that this requires an increase in staff.
Right. If they say, "Hey, we're going to hire a contractor," we probably would let it go until they hire the contractor, and then if they hire the contractor, we're going to find out, do they have the money to hire the contractor, and we're going to ask them, are you going to get it done this year? Are you going to spend it all this year? And those are the things we will ask them, not as part of the plan.
So you're not part of the decision-making process, the discretionary part of the process.
I am not.
It's really just a check the box at the end of the line.
Okay.
Well, is it more than check the box? But I'm not sure that matters to me. Still, it's check the box for funding issues.
Right. Okay.
Is that a good
Yes,
description?
it
Funding
is.
issues?
Yes, and plans, these plans typically don't. This plan does typically.
Does not what?
Does not have funding issues really.
Oh, right.
Related
Does not have
directly
any
to-
problems.
right.
Right.
The other thing that happens in management budget, for anything that comes from any department, it goes through an analyst before it comes to me in the PACE approval process inside my house, inside OMB. It has to go through them and then before it comes to me. And so if there's any budget issues or any question issues that arise then, they get addressed directly with the department before they ever come to me. And then they bring them to my attention. And then if I see anything involved, then I'll ask Robin how is the commission involved in that or not. And if they are at all that I'm not aware of, I give them to my deputy.
That was my fault. That's my other question. Among all the work that you do, how much a percentage is this? Fraction, right?
Yeah, less than 1%.
Is this something that in the event you would be able to hand some of these things off to
Yep.
a deputy?
Yep.
I'm
Yes.
just saying as an alternative.
Yep.
And if this is a very, very small percentage of what you do.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. As an alternative. I don't know if that's
Well, and
practical or not, but
yeah, and I was just trying to write out some parameters, because we'll put this out in the decision, that if the Heritage Land Bank Commission involved any type of financial issues, including, in other words, would be ultra conservative, even though it says, hey, this might involve some funding. If it involves any sort of funding issues, then it goes to the deputy. But again, the vast majority of these really don't, do they? I mean,
No,
certainly
and
not the 5-year plan or 1-year plan.
And the reason I asked Robin for this is because I didn't know exactly what the commission does. I mean, I'm like, I don't know what they
Right.
do,
Yeah.
but I know that your stuff comes across my desk, and so that's the only reason that this was generated.
because
How about
part
these
of,
approval for disposals and the like? What's the basis when in your office for that, so that when that hits your desk, what's the basis of your part of that decision?
It would only be if, when they dispose of the property, they want to appropriate the money back into that fund so that they can do one of two things: either manage the property or improve the property back into foreclosures. And so, or if they want to take the foreclosure, the receipts from the foreclosure, and apply them to a capital fund for a municipal project, I'm the one that has to basically say, yeah, you can take it out of that pile and you can put it into this pile. The amount in which they want to move, it's whether or not they're putting it in the right fund and they're using it for the right purpose. That's what I would ask them.
And would there be like any foreseeable sort of like downstream effect that could benefit or harm your wife in her position? I mean, could you approve it going to, a different kind of like pot of money that's going to affect her particular job, or?
If I was aware that, if my wife was doing, how can this scenario possibly happen? Let's say they sell a piece of property, and then Robin wants to apply a rezone to that piece of property. My wife bids on the development of it, and then her firm wins it, right? And then, so the proceeds from an action in the past, through a reappropriation for money through a firm, in that particular case, it's pretty clear. I would just, if that's what you want to decide, Robin, I'm backing off of that one. That's, I wouldn't, that's pretty clear to me. I would just I'd let Marilyn in my shop do it.
Okay. And you would be able to foresee that potential conflict. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I've asked Robin, and given what my wife does on the commission and what my wife does in a professional job, that I said, look, if you see that stuff coming, let me know that if her firm has got the work, please let me know. And the other thing is I've let my deputy know, because all of it has to come through her before it comes to me. I say, if you see anything with my wife's name on it, let me know, and that it's there, and don't let me see it unless it's something like this.
Right.
And that's why I'm here, because if it's one of these things, it should just come right, I think. But I need clarity and what that it comes through me for these actions. I should be able to rock. I should be able to just move these things through without any concern of conflict. The contracts and the money to authorize, my deputy already knows that if you see that stuff based on a previous action of this commission, I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Tell you that it's being diverted.
Yes, because because I need to know what's going on. I just I can't be involved in the approval process.
So you already have kind of a conflict avoidance plan in place.
I do
for the current.
For the current, as Dean mentioned, I've been here before.
Yeah. And how's that been working?
It's great. I mean, I think it's only happened once.
Okay.
And it was for a contract that was not in Robin's shop. It was for another department head. Okay. It was for it was for Chris Schutte.
And what did you do?
I don't approve the contract. I don't appropriate the funds. I just let Marilyn move it through.
All right. And that worked?
Yeah. It works great.
Okay.
In my absence, Marilyn is my backup.
Sure.
And so she has the same approval authority as I do.
Okay.
Well, short of saying that you don't approve anything that has a Heritage Land Bank recommendation, because I think that's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
Right.
Or what are the words where we would figure out some parameters? So, for instance, there's a ton of stuff here like approval of an easement. He has absolutely nothing to do with easements to Chugach or something. But like,
and
for
that wouldn't
example,
indicate his wife's
Right.
interest there.
His
In
Right.
firm.
architectural
Yeah.
firm.
Or-
But that seems to be where the rubber meets the road
Right.
of interest.
right. Well, but does somehow it affect her authority as the chair, or if it has funding issues? I can't think of how. Well, here, like, what about this? Approval of the extension of a lease. A lease means money to us, or payment of money. And the board, the commission says, yeah, we recommend this lease continue. I mean, these are all routine things, though, Does that really, what would OMB do with that one? Do they?
Well, they're gonna need to appropriate money to pay the lease. That's gonna come through me, and I would approve it if she had the money in her budget. I mean, they have labor and non-labor, and I'm gonna ask Robin, how are you paying for this one? And Robin does an amazing job managing her resources, so I don't have any doubt. So that's what would happen in that situation.
I think the board is very comfortable with what you're doing, but
Right.
it's
a
in
matter
an
of putting
opinion,
it
what are
in
the,
writing.
what are the buzzwords that we use in terms of some guidance?
We just want to figure out how to put it down.
Yeah.
Just to continue to manage any potential conflict that you've already been doing.
I mean, I don't know your process, but I would suggest that if there are any for the regular, it appears that for the regular duties of the commission for disposal of property, approval of plans that don't involve the appropriation of funds, I should be able to continue to act as I do as an OMB director to move those things through the system. In the event that the commission does take an action that would require a reappropriation or redirection of their approved budget, then based on the recommendations of the commission, that one would probably I would stay away from because I approve their budget. I mean, I recommend the approval of their budget and it goes to the assembly, but if they want, if the commission is recommending we should get rid of that person and spend more money on that, I probably would stay away from that one, just as a matter of course. But the rest of this stuff, I think that I should continue to move through these.
So disposal of property, approval of plans that don't involve appropriation or budget items, so it sounds like keywords are appropriation or budget item impact. And again, we're very remote because the Heritage Land Bank Commission really doesn't set by budget items at all. They make, advisory stuff. But that would still permit quite a bit of this. Easements. So maybe that's, do you have any other suggestions, Lance? So budgets and appropriation items, no, that you would avoid that, rely on other staff. But
and I think that in a freakishly world event, if they needed to hire somebody to develop a piece of property, I don't know how they would happen through the commission.
Well, we have language we've used in the past where essentially we are relying on your judgment to a certain extent.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the board. We haven't made our decision, but basically, to a certain extent, we can't look into a glass ball and figure out every possible hypothetical that could come up, right? Which is what you're trying to do right now. If it does, then we're going to rely on your judgment to be able to say, I got to back out of this one, rather than set parameters around all the possible hypotheticals. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense.
We'll do the best we can, and then the rest is kind of up to you. And we trust you, right?
Yeah.
We've done that before, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Can I ask you for some of these ones where you're just going through and you're just sort of looking to see if they have the budget to do what they're proposing to do, and sort of like there your only discretion is sort of like, well, you either have the budget or you don't. What would happen if you approved it and said it could move on even if they didn't have the budget?
Right.
I would never do that.
But that is one scenario that that would benefit your wife when it would be inappropriate.
I mean, could that be
Right.
I'll say it again one more
Could
time.
that be a
I
benefit?
understand.
I mean, so they propose something,
Yeah.
and your job typically would be, I'm not actually looking at whether this should get done. I'm just looking to see if they have the budget for it or not. Let's suppose they don't really have the budget for it. And not us, but an ordinary citizen who doesn't know you,
Right.
might say, perhaps unconsciously in your mind, you go, well, it's my wife. She's got it. She'll figure it out. She'll figure it out.
It'll
So
be
if it were
all right.
another agency, I wouldn't approve this,
Right.
but it's my wife. She'll figure it out, and so I approve it. And what happens if they actually don't have the money?
Right.
Would they be able, in essence, to be able to do more? A citizen might say, get away with more than another.
I think that
Department
I
of
don't know.
Agencies.
I don't know.
Right.
But
So
but
are we
think
opening the door for a possible appearance of favoritism? Right. See, that's it.
That's very unique.
Remember, think of people who don't know
Right.
you, people who read it in a blurb on the ADN,
That's
sort
right.
of like OBM, director approves
Right.
wife's proposal, and as
Turns
it
out
turns
there's no money.
their money
Yeah.
wasn't
Right.
there in the first place.
Because we're looking at it from the perspective, of someone who doesn't know the specific hierarchy,
Absolutely.
who doesn't know, but there could be an appearance that ends up splashing across
Can I
ADN.
ask, maybe where this could come up, because I keep saying, well, they don't do any of that stuff. They really literally talk about transfers of land, but they do, I don't know if in their work programs here, do they do proposed developments?
Yeah.
Right, so like, interaction with Alyeska and this development, and we're gonna throw money, we agree that money should be thrown into this project and the easements worked out. So I'm trying to think of something where it's really more, is a decision-making aspect or advisory, but still that they actually touch something meaty, like development, because really, disposals of easements and transfers of land are not it.
Robin develops a lot of property.
She does, and she goes through a lot with them.
Right.
And there was,
So-
they talked about it in the Goodwood issue, potentially donating gravel that's owned by the municipality. So there is,
Use of municipal resources. Which is interesting, because well, it wouldn't involve her firm very often. I mean, does that get more into her conflict as a chair on the commission itself versus downstream here?
Hmm.
So development.
I'm trying to think how that would play out. I can't, I'm trying to.
Yeah, so what would happen?
Yeah.
I mean, is it possible to get something through you, again, possible,
Uh-huh.
that could then, like, what happens if it does get through? Then, and there's a misappropriation.
So,
or there's, well, yeah.
I honestly don't know, but in any situation, I think what would happen is that if in a situation where a decision was made to appropriate funds and then they didn't have the money to do it, we do a couple things. One, we have to then, if we've already committed to a vendor or we're already in a contractual situation, we have to pay it and they don't have it. We'll even tell the department, all right, you need to figure out what you're not going to do with the remaining money that you have to meet this commitment. So tell us what are the services you're not going to provide to meet this. That would be the first thing we would do. The second thing we would do is then you need to talk to your executive manager, and then you need to ask the administration for a supplemental appropriation to take money out of our savings account to add to your budget, which requires an assembly appropriation. Instead of having $100 in your account, you need $102. And that requires a request from the department head who's responsible for it, a request from the executive manager asking for it, a request from the CFO to certify that you're going to take money in the savings account, and then for us, it would just make sure that the money went into the right account to pay whoever it went to. And in that case, if my wife was involved, I obviously wouldn't be involved in that step. It would be what Maryland does. I mean, that would be the situation that would be the remedy. First one, they're going to have to suck it up and figure it out because they only gave them $100. If they wanted to spend $102, they're going to have to ask for forgiveness. Sometimes that happens. It mostly happens by accident because of unintended consequences, earthquakes, crazy big fires, stuff like that. Other than that, I'm mostly the black
It's
cat
really
in the
hard,
room.
yeah.
I'm just telling them, I'm sorry, man. I only gave you $100. You don't get 102.
Okay.
But in a situation where a department consciously or unconsciously made those decisions, the remedy would be one of those two ways.
There is a remedy. And it's
Because
very
we will
painful.
pay the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
Okay.
So I'm still trying to think of development, but again, I think this would be at your wife's level. I mean, so she's on some big plan with Alyeska, and we have to grant different easements.
yeah, like,
It would be more up to her at the chair level, and all the people on that board, on that commission, are interested in this whole stuff. They're developers and stuff anyway. That I was trying to think of that this development could involve a bid by her, the firm she works with, architectural firm she's architect, right?
engineering,
Engineering.
architecture, development, yeah.
It's more a matter of her at the commission chair level addressing
Recusing
that
hers-
conflict. Yeah,
Right, I mean,
that's
she
not
would have
her
to
conflict.
recuse herself.
Yeah.
If HLB wanted to. If HLB selected her firm or to do development, then she would obviously have to recuse herself from the action if it was a part of the HLB commission duties.
And I think again, other than their 1 year and 5 year plans, they don't get into the weeds as to who's the contractor or who's the.
Right.
We don't do that there. It's really a broader based. Yeah, this is a good idea. We agree that municipal resources we should look at the thought of using municipal resources to develop a deal with Alias.
And since I didn't know what they do, I asked Robin that.
Mhm.
Do you ever pick a commission member to serve on a selection committee? They said, no, they don't do that. So, okay.
And again, with the exception of the lease, almost this entire list, with the exception of the first one, were just disposal of lands,
Mhm.
which would have no interest to Lance or I either. But the leases at least hit budget or appropriation matters. So that would be an easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions?
Thanks very much for coming in.
No, thank you.
Thanks for
I
coming in.
appreciate it. Just want to be abundant and cautious
Yeah.
because of what I do, and I'm in the press a lot more than Robin.
Right.
That's the thing, right?
You're the face of it, right? In
Yeah,
a way.
so-
And he's really going to be in the press coming up.
Yeah, here in about 1 week. Yeah.
What's happening in a week?
We're going to adjust the budget
Oh.
that we approved in November for 19. We're going to set the tax cap
Oh.
and the mill rate. Yeah.
That'll be
He's a
fun.
popular guy.
All right?
Okay,
Okay,
thank
good.
you.
All right,
you.
thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Dee.
Okay, thank you. Can I suggest we go to deliberative for 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I can only suggest you guys have to move.
Okay, move to go to deliberative. We're skipping
Second.
executive, right? Or
Yeah, we're just
We just
we're
have
going
one level
straight
now.
into there. We used to take 2 steps and then.
That's right. With Lisa gone, there's a new sheriff.
That's right.
All right, so I'm
You're pushing pause.